This day in sports history. It's July 23rd, and on this day in 1995, John Daly won the British Open. This one was played at the Old Course at St. Andrews. Daly had been around the top of the leaderboard from the start. He shared the first-round lead with Ben Crenshaw, Tom Watson, and Mark McNulty. After day 2, he was still there with Brad Faxon. But a third-round 73 dropped him 4 shots behind Australia's Michael Campbell and 2 behind Italy's Constantino Rocca. So he had a hill to climb on this day, and players were battling the wind as well at St. Andrews on Sunday, but Daly didn't seem to be bothered by it. He birdied the 4th, the 7th, and the 8th, while those above him faltered, and as he made the turn, Daly had the lead. He gave a shot back at 16, he hit into the road hole bunker at 17, and not only was he in the bunker, but he was up against the 5-foot lip of that thing. He hit a brilliant shot out of it, and he made a bogey there. It wasn't a shot that he wanted to give back, but it could have been a whole lot worse at 17. When Big John holed out for par on the 18th, he had a 1-shot lead over Rocca and a 2-shot advantage over Campbell, and he had to watch and wait. Campbell kept falling down the leaderboard, and after Rocca chili-dipped his second shot at 18, leaving himself a 60-foot putt through the so-called Valley of Sin, and the birdie that he needed to force a playoff, well, it looked like Daly would be celebrating in a couple of minutes. But then, Rocca dropped this bomb.
If he doesn't hold it, Daly, John Daly, will be the champion. Look at this.
And so it was off to a 4-hole aggregate playoff. They played holes 1, 2, 17, and 18. Rocca 3-putted the first to give Daly a 1-shot lead, and then John dropped a bomb of his own on the second hole.
Beautiful putt. Well, if he didn't win it the first time round, he's becoming quite convincing now.
Rocca made par, and Daly now had a 2-shot lead. Rocca found trouble himself in the road hole bunker, and he took 3 shots to extricate his ball, and at that point, it was all over except for the celebration. Daly made a par on the final to win the playoff by 4 shots for his second major golf title. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. On this day in 2000, it was Tiger Woods winning his first British Open and, in the process, becoming the youngest golfer to capture all 4 golf majors, called the Career Slam. This was also the second leg of what would become known as the Tiger Slam the following April, when he won the Masters, becoming the first golfer to hold all 4 major golf trophies at the same time. On this day, Tiger tamed the Old Course at St. Andrews, destroying the rest of the field in the process. He shot a 69 to close out his round on this day, and he had been the only golfer to card scores in the 60s all 4 rounds to win by 8 shots over Thomas Bjorn and Ernie Els. His 19 under 269 set a scoring record in relation to par in a major tournament. And at the age of 24, bested Jack Nicklaus's record for collecting all 4 majors in a career by 2 years. And then in 2006 on this day, Tiger won his 3rd British Open championship, and this one was extra special. His father Earl had died in May, and his 4-day walk around Royal Liverpool was a tribute to his dad, but it was not as easy as he'd made it look back in 2000. He started the day just a shot up on Ernie Els, Sergio Garcia, and Chris DiMarco. Woods had an eagle on the 5th, and then a flurry of 3 straight birdies on 14, 15, and 16 to shoot a final round 67 to get to 18 under, 1 shot off his record that he'd set 6 years before, but winning by 2 shots over DiMarco. When he sank his par putt on the 18th, the emotion finally hit him in full, and he buried his face in caddy Stevie Williams' shoulder, tears flowing down his cheeks. His wife at the time, Elin Nordegren, rushed on the green, and his tears continued for a few more moments. A few minutes later, he said that he wished that his dad could have seen him win just one more.
After my last putt, I realized that my dad's never going to see this again, and I wish he could have seen this one last time. I tried at Augusta and it didn't happen, but he was out there today keeping me calm. I had a very calm feeling the entire week, and especially today. Today was I would have to say my best ball striking day of the entire week, as well as my feel in the greens. So certainly I was thinking about hopefully one day having a chance to say that I love my dad and I miss him very much.
This episode is brought to you by Firefly Books, and with you being a sports fan just like me, here's 2 suggestions for your next great sports read. If you love basketball, then you need to add Dave Zarum's book, NBA 75, The Definitive History. Uncover untold stories of triumph, controversy, and the greatest stars of the game. From the league's humble beginnings to its modern glory, it is a courtside seat to 75 years of NBA history. And if you're a golf fanatic, then you gotta check out Matt Adams' book, The Golf Round I'll Never Forget. I've used it as a reference in this podcast over the past year for lots of stories that I've done, and I can tell you from experiencing it, this is a great book. Relive 50 of golf's most memorable moments through the eyes of the legends themselves. It's the closest you'll ever get to walking the fairways with the greatest to ever play the game. Grab your copy of NBA 75 or The Golf Round I'll Never Forget, available from Firefly, wherever you get your books. On this day in 1989, American Greg LeMond pulled off an incredible come-from-behind win for his second Tour de France title. LeMond came into the final day of the Tour 50 seconds behind France's Laurent Fignon. LeMond had attacked Fignon on the final mountain stage 2 days before, but Fignon had been able to mark him and kept the American from taking any time off of him. Now, this was a bit unusual that instead of a ride into Paris and a sprint finish down the Champs-Élysées, this was a final stage 15-mile time trial with each cyclist riding alone, starting 2 minutes apart from each other, no drafting allowed. 50 seconds is a huge gap to overcome in just 15 miles. Nobody outside of LeMond himself thought it possible. LeMond started second to last on this day. Fignon was the final starter. When LeMond rolled down the start ramp, he was wearing an aerodynamic helmet, and for the first time in Tour history, he had aero bars attached to his bike that put him in a Superman position on his bike, making him more aerodynamic. He also had a disc rear wheel with a regular spoke wheel on the front. The bespectacled Fignon rolled down the start ramp 2 minutes later with his blonde hair tied back in a ponytail and disc wheels on both front and back. And that decision to go with those 2 disc wheels may have been the deciding factor in this race. There were spots on the course where a crosswind kicked up, and that in effect slowed down Fignon just enough. LeMond was one of the top time trialists in the world as well, and he turned the pedals over in smooth yet powerful fashion. When he crossed the line, his average speed was a new Tour record of 34 miles per hour. And then his wait began. 2 minutes went by, the original starting gap, then another 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and when the clock ticked over to 51 seconds, LeMond could celebrate. He had done it. Fignon crossed the line 58 seconds slower than LeMond's time, and the final margin of 8 seconds was, and still, the closest margin of victory in the Tour de France. But Fignon was not happy. He protested that the bars LeMond used were illegal, but the win stood. And another thing that makes this already amazing story even a bit more amazing, LeMond had actually been accidentally shot in April of 1987 when he had been turkey hunting with his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law shot blindly through a bush at a noise that he thought had been made by a turkey, and instead hit Lamond with about 60 pellets. He lost about 65% of his blood by the time he'd been airlifted to the closest hospital. He'd been about 20 minutes away from bleeding to death, according to his surgeon. He hid the news of his accident from his cycling team, fearing they would drop his contract if they found out about it. And on this day in 1996, 18-year-old Kerri Strug thrilled the world with her courage and grit when she not only decided to attempt a second vault, despite a severely sprained left ankle, but she stuck the landing. Heading into this moment, the U.S. women's gymnastics team was trailing the Russians. That wasn't too much of a surprise, considering the Russians had won every women's gymnastics team gold medal going back to 1952. Moments before, Strug had landed awkwardly and fell on her first vault, rolling her left ankle in the process. There was a sharp pain rippling up through her entire body when she attempted to stand. She knew she had one more vault left, but at first didn't know if it was even possible to walk, let alone sprint to the springboard, launch 15 feet into the air, and then land on that ankle that she could barely put pressure on. A hobble, or worse, another fall, and it would be mostly pointless. But she felt like the pain of not trying and wondering what if would be more painful in the long run than a few more minutes of the lightning bolts in her left ankle. And so she did it. Sprint, springboard, launch, and when she landed, she heard and felt a crunch in that same ankle, and it was more excruciating than before. But she stuck it, arms in the air, left ankle elevated. And now came the wait for the judges' scores. She needed at least a 9.6. Instead, it was a 9.712 to secure the gold medal for the American women. X-rays later revealed 2 torn ligaments and a severe third-degree sprain. The doctor who looked at it could not believe she had been able to do what she had just done. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. Getting knocked up has taken on a bit of a different meaning now, but if you went back to the 19th century prior to the advent of alarm clocks, let's say, getting knocked up used to be a means of being awakened. People were employed as knocker-uppers to stop by a person's house and either knock on the door or perhaps shoot something at the window. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.